In 2014, the Puerto Rican lottery was inexplicably losing money, despite an audit showing no irregularities. A penetration tester was then authorized to investigate thoroughly, uncovering a scam so perilous that he had to flee the island. For the purposes of anonymity, the penetration tester's name will not be revealed. Instead, he'll be referred to as PT throughout the video. PT's unconventional background. It's actually quite fitting that a skilled penetration tester like PT got his start in the 90s wares scene, which notoriously involved illegal software distribution and hacking. He worked as a wares administrator and router, and also as a crypto encryption cracker for games and disk. Basically, he'd buy software for a video game or an app and then crack the code, so it no longer required a license to be run. Then he'd distribute it for anyone to download and use free of charge. You could say he was a kind of Robin Hood of the dark web. PT was actually drawn into computer hacking after his own system got infected. He basically took apart his computer to figure out how to fix the problem, and this led him to delve deeper into the world of illegal activities, learning programming and cracking encryption in the process. All of this hard work would really pay off in the future, because if it wasn't for these critical skills, PT might not have survived his time in Puerto Rico. Despite his obvious innate talent for hacking, PT decided to do a whole 180. He witnessed his peers facing harsh legal consequences for their illegal activities, and he decided it wasn't worth the risk. The idea of spending years of his valuable youth locked up behind bars didn't appeal to him one bit, so instead he decided to change course and join the US Marine Corps. This decision didn't come completely out of the blue though. PT had thought about joining the Marines for a while, as they were the only branch of the armed forces that didn't yet have a cybersecurity unit. This decision proved to be the most crucial of his entire life. A grueling metamorphosis in the Marine Corps. During his time in the Marine Corps, PT underwent brutal training in boot camp. His superiors were determined to transform every recruit into a killing machine, and so his grueling metamorphosis began. He learned how to fight to the death, use the latest weapons, and overcome every obstacle he might encounter during battle. He also learned to never succumb to fear under any circumstances, a skill that would prove incredibly useful to him in the near future. Even though he initially went into Marine boot camp as a means to gain government training, PT found himself deeply impacted by the transformation. He discovered how valuable the training was and spent 5 years in active service before deciding it was time to move on. Transition to cybersecurity, a new battlefield. After his 5-year stint in the Marines, PT decided to put his cybersecurity skills to the test by applying for a job in a consultancy firm. He got the job because he was more than qualified for it, and so his journey into the underworld of cybercrime began. It was the early 2010s, and the firm had him start by doing digital forensics, analyzing an infected computer to try to understand more about the malware, or looking for clues in a network or system that showed signs of intrusion. But they also had him doing some attack-type work, where he would be assigned to try to get into a computer or a website, or a network, to test how secure it was. This was where he excelled, and soon became well known for his incredible skills at penetration testing. His reputation didn't go unnoticed by the firm, and PT was soon given a new assignment. The consulting firm had recently been hired by the Puerto Rican government for cybersecurity work, hinting at a potentially ominous assignment. The firm approached PT because he was obviously the man for the job. He accepted the offer because who wouldn't? Puerto Rico sounds like the ideal tropical destination, but PT soon discovered something was definitely amiss. He was sent down to Puerto Rico with his team and told that they would be involved in improving the government's IT operations. Well, that wasn't necessarily the whole truth. PT had anticipated a short stay for about 2 to 3 weeks, but he soon found himself staying on the island for much longer than he'd expected. The entire ordeal took a rather serious turn when PT and his team were asked to meet with the governor of Puerto Rico in private. The mysterious meeting culminated in a shocking revelation. The governor revealed that the state lottery was losing millions of dollars each month. This was enough to pique PT's curiosity, and he soon became determined to uncover the source of the mystery. The investigation begins. If his time in the Marine Corps taught PT anything, it was to be thorough and meticulous with everything he did. So when he began investigating the stolen lottery money, he was determined to leave no stone unturned. He began by familiarizing himself with the mechanics of the lottery, including the live drawings on TV and the ticket sales, until he knew everything inside out. Then he put together a team of skilled accountants who confirmed there had been significant losses, but found no evidence of foul play among winners. Dissatisfied with this, PT went as far as to personally examine each and every lottery ball for any irregularities, but this proved to be in vain, as the balls had not been tampered with in the slightest. PT's investigation also led him to discover that only a select few individuals had access to the lottery equipment, which means it would have been near to impossible for any criminals to tamper with it. Every lottery drawing was televised live, adding another layer of accountability to the process. This was obviously done to promote the lottery, as every lottery is set up to generate revenue for the government, since the amount of the payoffs is never more than the amount of money generated through ticket sales. But in this case, the payouts were more than the ticket sales. A lot more. Millions of dollars were being lost in the lottery. So despite thorough investigations and stringent procedures, the source of the lottery losses remained elusive to PT, casting a lingering sense of unease over the entire situation. The investigation continues. Despite the apparent security measures, a sense of foreboding lingered over the investigation, and there seemed to be something everyone was missing. PT and his team scrutinized the database responsible for recording winning numbers and updating ticket statuses. What they discovered was not suspicious at all. There were significant losses shown in the system, but it looked like all of the money was just going to legitimate winners. Whoever was behind the scam seemed to be really good at what they were doing. But unfortunately for them, PT knew exactly what he was doing too. The confrontational attitude of the database administrator raised PT's suspicion, and for the first time, the thought occurred to him: could this be an inside job? Shocking revelations. PT's patience and determination finally seemed to pay off when, despite prior evidence of significant losses, the investigation uncovered a baffling absence of missing funds during their surveillance period. The sudden cessation of losses coinciding with their investigation pointed to a potential insider threat within the lottery organization. So, PT presented his findings to the governor of Puerto Rico, emphasizing the presence of an elusive insider orchestrating the mysterious losses. To PT's utter surprise, the governor granted him unprecedented authority to pursue the investigation, including immunity from any legal consequences. This basically meant that PT could finally make use of all the skills he'd acquired during his time in the wares scene without facing any legal repercussions. It seemed like he'd been training for this moment his whole life, and given the stakes of the situation, he desperately needed this training. Heightened paranoia. At this point, PT had been in Puerto Rico for well over a month, and his prolonged stay was really beginning to take a toll on his mental health. Being surrounded by strangers didn't help, and he found it incredibly difficult to grapple with the pressure and dangerous implications of the investigation. Surrounded by uncertainty and secrecy, he found himself questioning the motives of those around him, unsure of who to trust. A high-stakes mission. Thanks to gaining clearance from the governor, PT was allowed to embark on a covert mission to infiltrate the government building housing the lottery network, disguised as a tourist to avoid suspicion. Utilizing lock-picking tools, he gained unauthorized access to restricted areas within the building, including the finance department and other secluded offices. Despite encountering unexpected obstacles, such as armed personnel inside secured areas, he managed to evade detection and avert potential confrontation. PT employed quick thinking and strategic improvisation by coming up with pretextual excuses to deflect suspicion and maintain his cover as a lost tourist. He used advanced hacking techniques he'd learned in the wearer's scene, like password cracking and USB-based exploits, to gain unauthorized access to critical computer systems within the lottery network. He also leveraged vulnerabilities in outdated systems to bypass security measures and establish a foothold for further investigation. He thought of pretty much everything during the investigation, even utilizing a diverse toolkit of penetration testing software. He prepared for subsequent phases of the investigation, including network scanning and man-in-the-middle attacks. To avoid detection and mitigate risks of exposure, PT strategically disconnected compromised systems from the network, allowing him to continue his analysis offline. He went about everything very cautiously, even leaving the equipment unplugged overnight to maintain operational security. Cracking the case. After meticulous monitoring and analysis, PT finally uncovered unauthorized modifications to winning lottery ticket payouts within the database. The perpetrator used the username Service to manipulate payout amounts, leaving behind minimal traces. PT cross-referenced database logs with security camera footage to identify the culprit's activities, and he discovered a coordinated scheme involving individuals outside the network. Most fraudsters adjust payouts at lottery stations based on fraudulent entries made in the database. A detailed examination revealed the intricacies of the fraudulent operation, including timing and execution. The scam worked like this. Someone would go into the polling station 10 minutes beforehand and change the payout amount. Then another person would walk up with a boleto and take a number. They would actually type in the boleto serial number, and it would be for $10,000 versus $1. The person who got there beforehand would see the transaction process and then immediately flip it back to $1. So the individuals on the end at the payout stations didn't know. They would think it was a $10,000 winning ticket and unwittingly hand the scammer the money. Evidence gathering and analysis. PT employed various tools and techniques to gather evidence, including log analysis and network traffic monitoring. He utilized security camera footage to track the movements of suspects within the data center. Detailed documentation and analysis were conducted to build a comprehensive case against the perpetrators. The FBI gets involved. PT collaborated with law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, to apprehend the perpetrators. He provided irrefutable evidence, including database logs, security camera footage, and network traffic analysis. The FBI advised caution due to potential cartel involvement and arranged a discreet meeting. PT met FBI agents at a mall food court to transfer evidence, ensuring secrecy amidst cartel surveillance. The casual setting concealed the sensitive nature of the exchange from potential threats. PT also underwent a lengthy debriefing session with the FBI, delaying his airport pickup for his significant other. But despite all challenges, he continued to collaborate with the FBI, providing them with crucial information and evidence. It all pays off, and the FBI uncovered links between lottery fraud and a major cartel operation involving drug trafficking. Undercover operations also revealed the extent of cartel involvement in lottery fraud and illegal activities. The cartel threats got so violent that the FBI was forced to evacuate PT off the island in order to ensure his safety. Legal proceedings and indictments. As a result of the legal proceedings, 10 individuals were indicted for drug trafficking, lottery fraud, and money laundering. The court proceedings also revealed intricate details of the cartel's operations and its ties to lottery fraud. Upon further investigation, it was revealed that the winning lottery tickets are used to launder money for the cartel, facilitating the conversion of illicit cash into legitimate funds. The court records exposed the collusion between lottery insiders and cartel members in perpetrating the scheme. Justice is finally served, but not without tragedy. During the final verdict, one defendant received a life sentence for his involvement in drug smuggling and lottery fraud. But the IT specialist implicated in the fraud met an even worse end. He became involved in the cartel activities and was ultimately shot and killed, a testament to how dangerous the entire investigation had become.